Hey, 8th grade. Happy Star Wars Day. Today we are moving on in chapter 11. We're going to take a look at 11.4. Tomorrow you'll have a quiz on 11.2 through 11.4. Today's topic is rational expressions. I was counting how many days of math learning that you have left before you're done with your 8th grade school year, and we have 14 more days. So that's kind of exciting. So let's dive in to multiplying and dividing rational expressions. Before we get too deep into it, let's do a quick reminder, right? When we're multiplying fractions, if we have similar factors on top and bottom, we can cancel them, okay? So like 2 goes into 6 3 times, so it becomes a 3, and 2 goes into 8 4 times, okay? And then when you make sure that you're done with your simplifying, you multiply across, right? So 3 times 7 is 21, and then 37 times 4 is 148. Okay. Today we are going to be doing that, but with rational expressions. Also, no graph paper for me because we will not be graphing, so I'm using binder paper. Skill number 1, find each product. So if we take a look at our first example, we have x's on the top and bottom, and we have numbers, right? So numbers and variables, and we are going to try to reduce them in the way that makes the most sense. So while there's an x on the top here and 2 x's on the bottom here, we could cancel that. It makes more sense to do this one because these two are exactly the same, right? So there won't be any leftover. So x squared divided by an x squared is just 1, right? So the variables on both of those are gone. And then we have a 3 here on the bottom and a 3 here on the top. So those cancel out. 3 over 3 is also equal to 1. So that leaves on the top just an x all by itself. And I have an 8 and a 16. Those can be canceled. 8 divided by itself is 1, and 8 into 16 leaves us with 2. So then on the bottom, I'm left with a 2. Okay. Take a look at another one. This one is division, okay? So we have 3x plus 9 over x squared divided by x plus 3 over 1. So when we had fractions and we divided, we got the reciprocal of the second fraction, and we changed the division into a multiplication sign. So the first fraction will stay the same, the second fraction flips, and the signs change. So from here, we need to figure out what can be simplified or factored down. And this numerator, the first one, can be simplified more, right? They have something in common, both of those within the numerator. So if I pull out a 3, I'm left with x plus 3 over x squared. And over here I have 1 over x plus 3. Nothing can be simplified yet over there. So now I have an x plus 3 and an x plus 3 that I can cancel out, which leaves me on the top with 3 times 1, so just 3. And on the bottom, I have an x squared. Those cannot be further simplified. Time for you to try one. Take a look at this. Y minus 6 on the top, 2y plus 6 on the bottom, divided by, so you're going to be flipping and changing the sign, y plus 2 over y plus 3. Go ahead and pause it. Try to solve. Here's the answer to the you try. The top can stay the same. The bottom can be simplified. We can factor out a 2, and then it becomes y plus 3 times 2. When we flip, on the right. That leaves us with a y plus 3 on the top and bottom, which can cancel out. And we're left with y minus 6 on the top, and then 2 times y plus 2 on the bottom. Let's take a look at another one. X plus 3 over x times 5 over x squared plus 7x plus 12. Now, we have a trinomial over here, so I'm going to be factoring that down into 2 parentheses, and it's likely that one of the other pieces of this problem is a clue. Okay, so 5 doesn't help and x doesn't help, so I'm guessing that x plus 3 is going to be one of my factors here. So I rewrite the first one exactly the same. The second one, I leave the top alone, and on the bottom, I break it down. And however you can do that at this point is fine. If you can do that in your head and you feel confident, go for it. If you make a mistake, you won't get the right answer, right? So whatever makes sense for you. So when I multiply, I need them to equal 12, and when I add them, I need them to equal 7. And 3 and 4 will do that, right? So x plus 3, which I had an idea I would be getting, right? And then x plus 4. And now that I've simplified or factored that trinomial, now I can cancel. So I get 3, x plus 3, x plus 3, those reduce into 1, and then I'm left with five on the top, and then on the bottom I have x times x plus 4, which can't be further simplified. Next up, I've got a trinomial, and here I've got another binomial that can be simplified. So, and then I've also got these that are the same. So maybe I'll take, since these are exactly the same, I'm going to cancel those out right away, right? Y plus 5 over y plus 5 is 1. So then I can focus on the other 2. So I've got 1 on the top of my right and 1 on the bottom of my left. And then now this one is a trinomial, so I'm going to have to factor it down. And I canceled out the others, so it's probably not a clue, right? So how do I get 4 when I multiply and 3 when I combine, and they both should be negative, right? So one of them is going to be negative, which means probably -4 and +1. So y minus 4 and y plus 1 is my factored. And then over here, they both have a y, so I'm going to factor out a y. And then I'm left with y minus 4. So my y minus 4's cancel out. And then I'm left with y plus 1 on the top over y. Nothing else to cancel, right? Because it's not exactly the same. I can't take the y away. Okay, another you try. Here's yours. 7x squared y, so we've got a few variables now, over 12z cubed, and then times 14z over 49xy to the 4th. Go ahead and pause it if you need to. The answer that you should get is x over 6y cubed z to the 2nd. Skill number 2. Find each quotient. So in the first section, they were all products because we did end up multiplying them, even though some of them started as division problems. For this section, they all start with division problems, and we will be flipping or finding the reciprocal of all of them. All right, here we go. 15y squared over 4x divided by 5y over 8x cubed. So step 1, the first fraction stays the same. We change the sign, we change the second fraction, okay? Then we can start to cancel. So I know 4 goes into 8 2 times, so those turn into 1 and 2. I have 1x down here and 3 of them up here. So I can take only 1 away, which leaves me with now this whole factor is now 1, and this is 2x squared. Okay, so then if I focus on my others, 5 goes into itself once and 5 goes into 15 3 times. And then I've got y1 here, so that's gone. And then here I'm left with just 1. There was 2, right? And one of them gets canceled out. So for my final answer, I'm left with 2 and a 3. So 6, right? 3 times 2 is 6. And then I have 1y and 2 x's. So x squared y. And then on the bottom, I have just ones, so nothing really, right? My final simplified answer will be 6x squared y. Okay, let's do another one. 4d minus 8 over 2d minus 6 divided by 2d minus 4 over d minus 4. First thing we need to do, leave the first fraction alone and flip, find the reciprocal of the second fraction. Then we can start to simplify by seeing if we want with the goal of reducing, right? So in my first one, I'm going to factor out a 4, which leaves me with d minus 2. And then on the bottom, if I factor out a 2, that leaves me with d minus 3. And then for my second, d minus 4, nothing I can do there. Underneath though, I can factor out a 2 and I'm left with d minus 2. Okay? And then from here, I have a d minus 2 on the top and the bottom, so those cancel into 1s. I also have 4 over 2, right? So I can cancel. 2 goes into itself once, and it goes into 4 twice. And then I have a 2 on the bottom over here, and I still have a 2 here. So I can reduce that again. 2 goes into itself once, 2 goes into itself once. So I have no outside numbers anymore. And I'm left with everything canceled out here. So 1 times d minus 4, so d minus 4 over, and then I have d minus 3 times 1, so d minus 3. Okay. The next one, b plus 4 over 3b plus 2 divided by 3b plus 12 over b plus 1. First thing we need to do, change the sign, change the fraction. Okay, from there, we need to simplify if we can. So b plus 4 stays the same over, and 3b plus 2 cannot be simplified. So 3b plus 2, that stays the same. Times b plus 1 over, here we can factor out a 3, and we're left with b plus 4. b plus 4 can be factored out on the top and bottom, and we're left with 1. Nothing else can be simplified, so we're left with b plus 1 on the top, and on the bottom I have 3b plus 2 times 3. All right, we have a couple more examples. I know there's a lot of them. You want to make sure you see them and you've got all the notes for the upcoming quiz. Here's the next one. P squared minus 4 over 5p divided by p minus 2 over p plus q. So again, our first step is going to be to flip our sign and fraction. Once we've got that set up, we need to check to make sure everything is simplified. And I see that this right here is a difference of squares, right? So if I factor p squared minus 4, I'm going to get p plus 2 and p minus 2 over 5p. And when I do that, I can cancel out my p minus 2. Those both turn into 1. And when I multiply on the top, I get p plus 2 and p plus q over 5p. Nothing can be simplified further. Okay, you try. Q to the second power plus 3q plus 2, so trinomial, over 12, divided by q plus 1 and q squared plus 4. Pause it if you need to. The answer, right, is q plus 2 times q squared plus 4 all over 12. Here's my work if you need it to find out if you made an error. And here's your homework. For homework today, we're going to be on page 701. You're going to be doing 11 through 19 odd, 23 through 31 odd, and 45 through 47. No, not through, just 45 and 47. Make sure that you check all of the answers in the back of the book. Let me know if you have any questions. I will be on Google Hangouts at 2:15. Thanks, guys.